Good morning. If you can hear me, clap once. If you can hear me, clap twice. Thank you. Here we go. Good morning, Red Hawks. Thank you for joining us today for our Veterans Day celebration one day early. Today we are thankful for our veterans and their service, and also thankful for the fact that since the first time since 2019, we're able to gather in person or in our homerooms to view an in-person Veterans Day ceremony. I would like to thank you in advance for paying our veterans the respect they deserve, whether you're in person in the auditorium or in your homerooms, by putting your phones away and giving our students and veterans involved in today's ceremony the gift of your attention. Originally celebrated as Armistice Day, November 11th was selected to be the day of remembrance and to honor veterans of World War I, because although the war did not officially end until the Treaty of Versailles was signed, hostilities officially ended in 1918 at the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month of the year. In 1954, this national holiday became known as Veterans Day, a day to honor veterans who have served our country in all capacities and in all wars. Celebrating veterans on November 11th preserves the historical significance of this date and helps us remember the importance and the purpose of Veterans Day, a celebration to honor America's veterans for their patriotism, their love for country, and willingness to serve and sacrifice for the common good. At this time, I'd like to ask us all to please stand and remove your hats as we welcome members of the Naperville Central Advanced Choir, who will begin our ceremony with a celebration
so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Please remain standing. Please remain standing. And welcome Dimitri, Christopher, and Ariana, who will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this time, I would like to thank Mr. Bolshansky and the student members of our Veterans Club who were instrumental in planning today's ceremony and inviting our honored guests to join us. They will lead the introduction of our veterans and our honored guests here with us today. To begin, please welcome Campbell Jones and Logan McGrath.
Hi, my name is Campbell Jones. I'm a member of Naperville Central's Veterans Club, and I'm a freshman. Here representing the United States Army are Captain Richard Hughes, Private First Class Joe Kolpak, and Sergeant Janice Lukowski.
Hi, my name is Logan McGrath, and I'm treasurer of Naperville Central's Veterans Club, and I'm a sophomore. Here also representing the United States Army are First Lieutenant Kenneth Merrihew, Specialist Holden Moss, Master Sergeant Dennis Reagan, and Sergeant Charlie Vladika. Please give them a warm welcome.
Hi, my name is Luciana Fascia, and I am the co-president of Naperville Central's Veterans Club. Here representing the United States Marines is Corporal Joseph Burke.
Hi, my name is McKenna Jones, and I am a senior, and I'm a member of Veterans Club. Here representing the United States Air Force are Senior Master Sergeant Larry Smith and Staff Sergeant Jeff Yankee. Please give them a warm welcome.
My name is Lily Crumans. I'm the Executive Secretary of Naperville Central's Veterans Club. Here representing the United States Navy are Captain Richard Jensen, Mr. Roger Grant Sr., Hospital Corpsman 2nd Class Bill Salentine. Please give them a warm welcome.
Hi, everybody. My name is Riley McGrath. I'm a senior here at Central, and I am one of the co-presidents of our Veterans Club. You saw our volunteers here reading the names of veterans who are here today to celebrate Veterans Day. And although we do not have representatives from the Coast Guard and from the newest branch, the Space Force, we'd like you to give them a round of applause for their service as well. So our club, Veterans Club, is a newer club at Central. We became official this year, and what we do is we volunteer with local veterans by going to nursing homes a couple times monthly and listening to them talk about their time in the service. Each veteran will share their name, their branch, and when and where they served. Then they share stories or answer questions from students. For example, at one of our recent meetings, we discussed the movie Top Gun: Maverick and whether it's a realistic portrayal of life in the Navy. So who here has seen that movie? Most of us? Yeah. So at our meeting, we actually had a Navy pilot and a real-life Top Gun flight instructor, and they said that while the movie is tactically inaccurate, flying is just as fun as it looks. At our last meeting, the veterans made a point of telling us the distinction between Veterans Day and Memorial Day. Memorial Day is a time to remember veterans who died, while Veterans Day is a time to celebrate all living veterans. So the question becomes, how can we celebrate Veterans Day? The first way to do this is easy. Thank a veteran. Thank any veterans you know or any you see. It takes very little effort on your part, and it is incredibly meaningful to them. This is especially true for veterans of Korea, whose service in the forgotten war is often overlooked, and of Vietnam, many of whom did not receive a friendly welcome home. The second thing you can do is to take a moment out of your day to learn more about the history of our country. We're often taught about the Civil War and the Revolutionary War, but it isn't so often that we learn about Vietnam and Korea. It is perhaps true that we know even less about the conflicts which have occurred during and close to our lifetimes, like Iraq, Afghanistan, the Gulf War, and the terrorist attacks of September 11th. We are told to never forget attacks like 9/11 and Pearl Harbor. We are told to never forget about the sacrifices servicemen and women make to keep our country safe. But too often we do forget. We must take the time to remember. This Veterans Day, I encourage you to thank a veteran and to continue to learn about our history, so we never forget the sacrifices that have been made for our country. Here to help us remember our history is Sergeant Charlie Vladica, a Vietnam veteran who spent 2 years in the Army and 4 in the Army Reserve. When he speaks following the Wind Ensemble's performance of Let Freedom Ring, please give Mr. Vladica your attention and your respect. Thank you.
My name is Chuck Bladica. I am a Vietnam veteran, as was introduced. I'm going to change my little speech here for a couple of minutes here. In the military, when someone does good or a unit does good, we all scream out, hoorah. Your band here is just phenomenal. So I'm going to count to 3, and everybody at the top of your voice, let's get a real hoorah going. 1, 2, 3, hoorah! One more time. 1, 2, 3, hoorah! You bet. As a sidebar, my 2 sons have attended Central. Craig, who's still active duty in the military, he's done 3 tours in Afghanistan and 1 in Korea. He's also was a proud graduate, I guess you would call, the automobile class here at Central. So he moved up into the Army and is now a top mechanic and working on tanks, artillery, all that stuff. So what I want to do is I want to thank Naperville Central High School principal, teachers, staff, and especially to you, the students, for having us and sharing Veterans Day with us. Thank you. Huh? Okay. I don't want to fall. I'm not that disabled. All right, now, we have to do some business too. Basically, what my job was when I was in Vietnam, I was drafted the day I graduated college, literally. I spent 14 months in Vietnam, heavy combat, some not so heavy combat. I was an in-country instructor, and what that is, I was training soldiers coming over on weapons. I was training crew members on my tanks, and most of all, like you heard me earlier here, I was a drill sergeant. So I will be bantering and shouting out a couple of orders here, so bear with me. Otherwise, you have to deal with me. All right. Well, today is the 247th birthday of the United States Marine Corps. So, on the count of 3, real loud, we're going to wish the Marine Corps, we're all going to scream, Happy Birthday, Marines. 1, 2, 3. Happy birthday, Marines. God, they are so needy. We have to do that every time. So, now, I'm going to say good morning, and I want to hear you shout back good morning back to me. Good morning. Good morning. I can't hear you. Good morning. All right. You had the introduction on what was the day today, Armistice Day, was actually the way it was named in World War I after the end, but it was changed to Veterans Day in 1954 to celebrate the living veterans. This is for the living veterans today. Memorial Day was originally called Remembrance Day, honoring those veterans who have made the ultimate sacrifice, killed in wars, or for those veterans who have lived out their time. Case in point, out here in Naperville, every Memorial Day, we go around and place flags on all the veterans' graves. Out in Elwood, Elwood outside of Joliet, there are 65,000 veterans interned out there right now, and it's still taking about 13 a day are going out there being interned. So we have, since the Revolutionary War, 42,500,000 veterans have worn our country's uniform. 1.35 million have made the ultimate sacrifice. So this is why we veterans are very, very particular on serving our certain days. So, a military veteran is someone who has, veterans are people who at one point in their lives wrote a blank check payable to the United States of America for an amount up to and including their lives. America will never be destroyed from the outside. If we falter and lose our freedoms, it will be because we destroyed ourselves. That was Thomas Jefferson. So it's pertinent today. And our young people are as likely to serve as to how they perceive the veterans who were treated and appreciated by their country. George Washington. So this goes back. And something that we have to say, particularly as veterans, it is the soldier, not the reporter, who has given us the freedom of the press. It is the soldier, not the poet, who has given us the freedom of speech. It is the soldier, not the politicians, that ensures our right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. It is the soldier who salutes the flag, serves beneath the flag, and whose coffin is draped by the flag. So just trying to let you understand how we are just so, we call ourselves a band of brothers and sisters, and this is how we stay in unity. So we took an oath to defend our country and the United States Constitution from foreign or domestic enemies, up to and including giving our lives. Only 1% of our country's population is serving in today's military. Active duty, keeping America safe and secure. I believe there's 369 million of us now in this country. So it's quite a different thing. So, on another note, a friend of mine whose son visited Abraham Lincoln National Cemetery, he took some pictures and asked his father, an Army veteran, to write something about them, reflecting what's going on today. He wrote the following: I don't see any color here. The headstones all look the same. No black, no brown, no white skin tone. There's no one here to blame. These soldiers fought and died for you. Their color you can't see. Your rights are still protected. Here's the place to take a knee. And this is what we're very proud of. And again, I just like to end with a very simple thing. Let's give every one of you a big hurrah. 1, 2, 3. Hoorah! One more time, recruits. Hoorah! Thank you. And something to remember. We all bleed red. We all urinate yellow. So let's drop all the darn stupid arrogance and accept us as we are. We are members of the greatest country in the world. Thank you, and I salute you.
Before we conclude our ceremony, I would like to remind you of a few opportunities that you have to support our active troops as well as our veterans here with us today and those not with us today. We are currently collecting supplies for Operation Support Our Troops through the end of the day tomorrow, and there are collection sites on the second floor. So please help us in that drive. Also, if you are interested in joining the Veterans Club, you are welcome to see Mr. Boshensky or any of the students that you met today in order to join that effort. In addition to Mr. Boshensky and members of our Veterans Club, I would like to thank our wind ensemble and our advanced choir for their performances today. I would also like to thank all of the people behind the scenes that made today's ceremony possible. Mrs. Rudum, Mr. Allstott, Mrs. Mielkars, Mr. France, Mr. Golson, Mr. Luer, Mrs. Longpiper, and our Hawk TV crew, who for the first time, we are live streaming an in-person ceremony into homerooms, and it wouldn't be possible without them. So thank you for that time, for planning and preparing for today's ceremony. But most importantly, can we please end our ceremony today by thanking our honored guests both for their service to our country and for their presence with us here today. And thank you, Red Hawks, for the gift of your respect and your attention this morning for our honored guests. We have the gift of a few extra minutes before our SOAR period